So I'm currently on my fifth.
Can you do the
cookie
screen?
of the night. Yeah.
Yeah, no shit, Dennis.
Jeez, Dennis. You got
Dennis,
like
we're
one job.
One does.
We're a podcast with slides, and I don't see any slides.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was the fiber. The fiber made me do it.
Oh, has that shit hit yet or what?
No. As I said, I've currently taken 3 more
Why?
because I'm already in like this far. I may as well just like.
That's 9 fiber cookies, bro. That's
Oh,
like
no.
4.5 times your
Yep.
fucking daily dose.
I'm gonna overdose on fiber.
You're gonna spontaneously combust.
You are listening to the Micro Machines podcast. Today we are talking about the E series of tanks, and shall we do
Dennis's
some
fiber
introductions
problems.
first? Okay then, no introductions. I am Dennis. I'm recording from Ontario.
I am Callum. I am recording from New Zealand.
I'm Ezra, recording from New Mexico.
I'm Greg, recording from SoCal.
Alrighty, Callum, what are we looking at?
So, I figured we'll go a bit different this week. We are going to talk about the E series of tanks, a development of tanks that the Germans were trying to design during the war because they really needed to.
I mean, they didn't need.
Go.
They didn't need to. They had the Stug 3, which would have served them throughout the entire war admirably.
We're like a minute and a half into the podcast, and you're already talking about Stugs.
I mean, that's a new record, actually.
We need to give him a limit on how many times he can mention them.
Give him
duct tape.
I think he he wants a special tag in the fucking Discord.
Yeah, I guess he does. He does.
Oh no. You're going to send me to horny jail, but for Stugs?
Yes.
I'm going to repurpose Horny Jail. You don't even get like a unique tag. I'm just going to like give you a recycled one.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Anyway, back to it. So, the E series, well, there are five main E series tank that we'll know about, that they'll confirm that they're designing. The E10, E25, E50, E75, and E100. And we're going to talk mainly about these 5 in this episode. Then at the end we'll show some lesser known ones that they were sort of planning. Didn't really even make blueprint, but yeah. But basically, so what this series of tanks was during the Second World War, what were the German tanks known for?
Reliability.
Breaking down.
Mugging you for your transmission.
Basically, yeah. So all German tanks were overly complicated. There are many different designs. You know, you got the Panzer 3, Panzer 4, Tiger 1, Panther. All different designs, all requiring different parts. They were slow to manufacture. They were slow to send out. They were difficult to maintain. You know, just all of that. So the E series of tanks were all designed to replace and basically standardize all the German armor into things that were cheaper, more reliable, easier to maintain, quicker to manufacture. Very efficient, really, which is very, very German, isn't it?
Maximum efficiency.
Yeah, exactly. So,
One question for you before we continue.
go for it.
So were these designs we're seeing on the screen now, were these like actual blueprints that they had thought about?
Yes. So these are the ones that were most well known.
The E25, the trench crossing ability of that with the barrel sticking out, it has to be 0. Wow.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry.
Anyway, so first up.
Wait, I think we just lost Ezra.
Crap.
Did we?
Wait, no, there he is. Never mind.
No, still there.
Did we just have our first casualty?
We did.
I don't know what happened. I got kicked out of the slides.
Okay. Edit all of that out. So, the first one is the Jagdpanzer E10. Now, this was to replace the Hetzer. So basically, it's the same sort of size and whatnot. It was just there are a lot of differences in this one, though. One of the things you may notice is the suspension. So this one was to replace the Jagdpanzer 38T or the Hetzer. Fun fact, wasn't actually called Hetzer until well after the war. It was not known as Hetzer during the war. It was only after the war it was named that.
I just want to point out that in some alternate reality, Ezra is just drooling over the E10 instead of the Stug.
Never.
This thing is a lowrider. I just looked at the suspension. This thing's got that whole Japanese lowriding system. It's very Type 10-esque.
Yeah,
It's hideous.
I love it.
yeah.
It's
I'll get to it in a sec. So this was called the E10, as it was to be classed between a 10 and 25 ton in weight, and it used the same Tiger 2 style road wheels, all steel. And this one did not have torsion bar suspension or anything like that. This one used a suspension that, when it found a fighting position, the suspension would lower the tank right down to where the top of the bottom of the hull was touching the tracks, and that was the combat position. So it would lower itself from. It would reduce the height from 176 centimeters to 140 centimeters. So that's about 1.76 meters. It dropped to 1.4 meters in height.
What's that in Columbi? I don't understand
Yeah.
any of the units you're using right now.
In Columbi, that is from let's say 0.8 Columbi down to about 0.5.
Oh, okay. That makes way more sense now. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's impressive.
Yeah, very impressive.
Yeah, so this thing could drop itself down into a fighting position. Now, it did have quite a bit of armor. It's I've been reading the reports. That is that I can't find an actual armor value, but it was supposed to be around the same as a Hetzer on the front armor. And also the suspension that we're looking at, this was actually used when the Swiss designed the Panzer 61. Same sort of suspension design.
How'd it work out for him?
Pretty well. Panzer 61, I think they did use it.
So,
There you go.
question: on the 61, did it have the same feature where it could like depress the suspension?
Yep.
What?
That's-
You're kidding?
Why haven't we heard of this?
Yeah, I was
why
gonna say,
have I
we
ever
need to
heard
do
of
a-
her?
We'll need to do a whole episode on the Panzer 61 then.
Hang on, I'm just going to check that just to make sure, though, because the
I
internet.
think we would have heard of it if it did that.
Oh, the
New
Panzer
Warhammer
61
vehicle.
is so cute.
The Panzer 61, there is not a lot of information.
They're keeping it secret for whenever Russia invades Finland.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it had some sort of thing, but because this is what the suspension for the E10 was supposed to do. It was supposed to be able to lower the tank down and raise it up for combat and whatnot. So this
You know what's
one,
bad?
yeah.
You know what's bad when your references for the tank are models of it?
That's pretty much all we've got at the moment, but there are pretty good representations, actually. It was reported to have the same gun as the Hetzer. So basically it's just an updated Hetzer.
Yeah, the mantlet looks the same.
Yeah. Yeah, the mantlet is, probably the same one, to be honest.
Yeah.
So the E10 was to replace all light tanks. This was to be the new light tank, basically.
So a turretless light tank.
Yep.
Huh, that's weird.
That is really weird.
Callum, do we have any information on how this thing could it like do things like neutral traverse, like neutral turns? Could it do anything like that?
No idea, because a lot of these E series tanks never made it past blueprints and some prototypes.
Okay, so
Like-
we wouldn't really have any information on the power plant.
This one used a Tantra 12-cylinder air-cooled diesel similar to the one on the SDKFZ234 or the Puma.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess if it's under 10 tons, I actually could probably move pretty quickly then.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh, that's not bad actually.
I have one question about it.
Shoot.
Why does it have those like fender looking things on the very top of the hull? Like, I wouldn't think they're needed.
I'd say that just be to try and protect the track when it's in combat position.
Okay, yeah,
And
that makes
also to
sense.
stop, and you also need to stop mud and stuff getting flicked up because, as we talked about with the Matilda 1, they had no fenders or anything, and it was prone to getting dirt and debris flicked up onto the engine deck.
Oh,
So
right.
That is actually a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. But it seems like it's really high up because it's got to allow for the suspension to lower the tank down to it.
Right. Huh.
Yeah.
Cool design.
Yeah. I think this one's probably the cooler of the designs. And shall we go to the next one? Yep.
Pick.
So this is the sort of upgraded version of the E10. This is the Jagdpanzer E25. So this one is strange because it's called the E25 because it was between the 25 and 50 ton weight class. And this was to replace both the Panzer III and Panzer IV base designs. So, yep.
It just makes no sense. Why would you replace a perfectly good turreted Panzer IV with this?
Wait, did Dennis just say the Panzer IV was perfect?
Perfectly reasonable, decent, acceptable, mediocre.
Compare this E25 to a Panzer IV. I would take the Panzer IV.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, you know what? Compared to this, the Panzer IV is perfect, Ezra. There you go. I said it.
Hey,
What
write
are
that one
those?
down. Hey, put that down in the quotes.
So this one again had the same Tiger 2 steel rimmed style wheels overlapping. The Germans really, really like their overlapping wheels. Even though it was prone to get mud and debris clogged in it and was a pain in the ass to maintain, they still love those overlapping wheels.
I was about to say those are horrible for blitzkrieging.
Yeah. So this one, it was to be mounted with, some say, a 75mm PAC 42 L70. Then we've got a diagram here showing an 88mm on it. So there's still some debate of which one it would have received, and also a machine gun turret on the top.
Was that 13mm in the turret?
Would have just been an MG42 or 34.
It's a long 34 barrel. Okay, fair enough.
It would have probably been like the remote controlled turrets you saw in Hetzers and late Stugs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most likely.
Fair enough.
So trying to find info on the E25 is pretty difficult. There's not actually a lot. This one's probably got the least amount about it that I can see. But basically this one would function the same as the E10, but just as a sort of heavier version. So tank destroyer and possibly even medium reconnaissance as well. Because of the low profile, this thing can hide.
Now, could this do the same thing as the E10 where it could depress the suspension, or was it just a lower vehicle?
No, it was just a lower vehicle. This
Fair
one...
enough.
So the E10 was the only one with the hydraulic suspension. Everything else was, I believe, torsion bar. Now we'll talk about the standard Panzer, also known as the E50. Now, considering what I've said about the other two, can anyone guess why it's called the E50?
Because it's 50 tons
50
or
tons.
more.
Exactly.
Impossible, it couldn't be that.
Can I just say that the Germans have to be running out of names if they resort to calling their thing the standard Panzer.
So they were called standard Panzers because that's what they were. They were the standard. It was just that was the standard for the E50, and then you got a standard. So there was only supposed to be one. So this is their medium to heavy tank. There was only supposed to be one variant of it, and then you got the E75, which is one variant of the heavy. So
This is basically a Panther and a King Tiger if they had a kid.
Actually, that's a very good way to put it. A very good way. So the E50, the hull is very similar to the King Tiger. It's slightly longer, I believe.
Longer.
So the E50 hull was to be longer than the Panther and practically identical to the Tiger II in dimensions, except for the upper and lower glacis plate. So these were to be armed with either a 75 or an 88 as well. And this one, you can see it's got slightly different suspension design to the E25.
Oh yeah,
It's got the overlapping, but that it's not full overlapping. They're in pairs.
it's
It looks
almost like
they've taken
bogies.
almost 50% of the bogies off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That must not have been good for the ride.
Well, to
If
make
it had
it
ever been built.
to make them quicker, easier, and cheaper to produce, this wasn't actually torsion bar. I'm just changing everything now. This one wasn't torsion bar. It was to be proposed with a conical spring system, replacing the torsion bar system, which needed a special steel alloy. So this one is just... It's kind of like the Panther and the King Tiger had a kid, and they were very cheap.
Oh, so is the suspension kind of like on the Ferdinands?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I believe Porsche had quite a bit to do with the design of
That would make sense.
of the E series.
it definitely looks like it.
So this one was to be powered with an improved Maybach HL234 engine, which had about 900 horsepower. So this maximum speed was supposed to be around 60 kilometers an hour.
60 kilometers an hour with worse suspension and a heavy enough vehicle. Doesn't sound fun.
Germans are always
Silly.
beating the past.
But yeah, so you can see it definitely got that sort of Panther look, especially with the turret. And it looks like the mantlet itself looks very similar to a very, very late Panther F or the proposed Panther II.
Yeah, because
style.
isn't there a surviving turret from the Panther II program? And it looks a whole lot like that. Like a different mantlet, but
Yeah.
the actual design's very similar.
Yeah, and at this stage of the war, so this was the E50 was supposed to be coming out around the end of the war. So they would have started equipping it with this. It was a night vision set. The Germans had started to develop night vision. Yeah, so they just started to develop infrared and stuff. So the standard Panzer E50 would have been equipped with that as well.
I wonder how useful that would have been, because I remember that, on those Hanomag half tracks, the 251s?
Yep.
They developed a version of that with a giant infrared spotlight, basically, that they could use in conjunction with the tanks, so that the tank commanders could actually see what they were looking at night. So I wonder how strong these would have been on their own.
Yeah.
The ones the Germans were putting up in development, I don't think you could see past 250 meters, I think.
Which in a tank is point blank.
Yeah. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what I remember hearing from the documentary.
Which is basically useless on
Yeah.
the tank. So the E50 was to replace both the Panther and Tiger 1. So it's filling that sort of medium to heavy role.
Ooh. Oh, look
King
at
Tiger.
a King Tiger tank.
What are you doing here?
So this is the standard Panzer E75.
No. That's a King Tiger.
This was the replacement of the Tiger II and Jagd Tiger.
Boo! The Ag Tiger doesn't need replacing.
So this was intended to be the standard heavy tank. So it would have been built on the same production lines as the E50 for ease of manufacture, as the two vehicles were to share many components, including the same Maybach HL234 engine. The E75 would have had much thicker armour, however. In fact, compared with the Tiger II, the E75 had improved hull armour all round. And as the name indicates, E75 puts this one as the 75 to 100 ton class of tank. Now, this reduced the speed to about 40 kilometers an hour, as opposed to the E50, which could make up to 60. So to offset the increased weight, the bogies were spaced differently than on the E50, with a pair added on each side. What this did was it did give it a slightly improved track-to-ground contact length. Basically, it was better off-road. According to some sources, the similarities between the E50 and the E75 went further. They would be equipped with the same turret and 88mm L71 or L100, along with optical rangefinder for increased long-range accuracy. So there are other sources that say that it was supposed to be fitted with the Tiger II turret, and could have been fitted with a 105mm, which we can see here in the for those who are listening and not watching. We have a diagram of an E75 equipped with the Tiger II turret and a 105mm cannon in it.
That thing looks like it would absolutely dominate on the battlefield.
Well, having something like a stereoscopic rangefinder, you see in the photos here, how it's got, on the sides of the turret, there are the two bulges, right? Those are for this.
Shut the fuck up, Ezra.
Behave, Ezra, behave.
I'm trying to talk about math, and all I can think of is... So you have the stereoscopic rangefinder, and that was the technology that was pretty developed for anti-aircraft gun rangefinding, but not so much for tanks, because they couldn't figure out a way to fit the bulge into the turret. I'm sorry, that was intentional. But yeah, you wouldn't see it appear on American tanks until... Oh, jeez. Well, really, until right before the Korean War, so like quite a few years after.
Yeah,
So
dude,
the fact
American
that
tanks were late bloomers.
It's the fact that the Germans were getting these bulges this early. It's pretty interesting to see.
Alright, we gotta stop before this turns into the last episode.
Oh God.
Callum, please take the reins for God's sakes.
All right, well, we'll move on to probably what is the most well-known of the E-series, the super tank, the E100. So the E100 was basically a simplified mouse. It was I believe it was slightly lighter, although I say that...
I'm looking this up right now.
It has a weight of 123 ton.
That's still a big bitch.
Hence the E100.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's designed to actually be the replacement for the mouse. And they only ever got a prototype of the mouse. The British did capture a fully made hull for the E100, which they tested for evaluation and whatnot, and then did the heinous thing of scrapping it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture right now. Apparently, it wasn't fully complete. The road wheels and road wheel arms were mounted, but not the springs.
That thing still would have weighed like 50 ton at least.
Oh, for sure.
Like it's just a massive lump of metal.
It had a ground pressure of 20.65 psi.
Oh, that's heavy.
Yeah.
That's not going over any bridges.
No.
Don't drive it on the fucking wet ground either.
180. Oh god, 180 tons.
Jesus. So during early development of the mouse, they used an E100 turret, and then it was converted to the Mouse 2 turret. So there's a lot of chopping and changing of turrets. We can see here, you can see about 3 different turret designs just in our designs alone, in our diagrams. So it would have housed the 128mm KWK-44 L55. Jesus. The Germans really know how to name stuff.
Oh yeah.
So it would have had the 128mm cannon in it with a 75mm as a coaxial. And there are 2 different designs on whether it was to the side of the turret or on top of the 128. All depends on which company designed it. Now, there was a proposal to fit a 15cm cannon onto the E100.
Oh god.
Yeah, which is overkill. And there were reports during this. There were reports that the 150 could be mounted, or get this, a 170 millimeter cannon.
Oh, you're kidding. No.
Yeah.
Really? Jeez.
These would have only been used as assault weapons, so basically turned into Yagged E100s and stuff like that. But there were proposals for bigger and bigger guns. I've just found some stats as well. So for armor, the frontal armor had 200 millimeters of steel at 60 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Even the Firefly is going to struggle mightily against that.
Yeah. The hull had 120. The sides had 120. The rear had 150 mil, sloped at 30.
Even the rear?
Yep. The top of the hull had 40, sloped at 90 degrees. Which, it's lying flat, so of course it would be. The bottom of the hull had 80 millimeters. Now the front of the turret had 200 mil, sloped at 30. So trying to get through the cheeks, you'd struggle. Sides had 80, rear had 150, and the roof had 40 again. So the only real thing you could take this out was with an aircraft.
Yeah, you need to have the RAF do like an airstrike on this thing.
So would I be correct in guessing that the E100 and Mouse kind of had the same thing going on as the King Tiger Henschel and King Tiger Porsche? Like both companies were competing to get one of their designs picked?
Somewhat. The Mouse was being designed, but they wanted to turn everything into the standardized, which meant that the E100 would share components with the 50 and 75 as well. So it was Mouse was being developed, and then it was going to be cancelled in favor for the E100.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So to power this beast of steel, it was to have the Maybach HL230 V12 gasoline with about 700 horsepower. Theoretically, it could be also powered with an experimental fuel-injected HL234 developing 900 horsepower, but that never went anywhere.
Yeah, fuel injection at that point would be pretty hard to pull off, especially on that kind of scale.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
guys, I have this premonition. If this thing had been built, it wouldn't move very fast. I don't know. It's just a
not
weird
at all.
feeling I'm getting.
max speed over the road, 23 kilometers an hour.
Jesus.
I ride when I'm riding to work. I ride faster than that, and that's going uphill. Jeez.
So we'll just go through a few of the lesser known designs that they also went through. So one was called the Buffle APC.
Oh my god, it's a BMP-1.
Oh, they made the BMP-1.
So
does that mean the BMP-1 was made by the Nazis?
I guess so.
Conspiracy
Does that
theories.
not look a bit like a martyr to you?
It really does.
Wow.
So from what I can see, what was known as the Buffle APC was to be on the E50's chassis, as you can see by the suspension. And there's no real... we're only going by diagrams here. What do you reckon the cannon on that would be? Would that be one of the 30 mil or a 50?
I
think a 30.
Really?
50.
It looks like a 50 because this looks like the turret off of a Puma.
Yeah.
Oh, good point. I thought the Puma had a 37.
Well, I think the one we're thinking of, the 8-wheeler one with the long gun turret. That's a 50.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go to the next one.
Yeah.
Wait, go back. Is that a little MG turret on the rear?
That looks like a
Yes.
little MG turret.
Yes,
is
it's
so
got an
cool.
MG on the rear.
Where? Oh my god! They've got pistol. They've got
So was it?
ports. It's
Was
a
it
Bradley.
APC?
Yeah.
It's a Bradley.
It's a more effective Bradley.
Oh my god.
Oh my fucking god! There's
Callum,
no
if you
way.
could take, do you know that music that was from the Bradley commercial?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Please add that over the slide, please.
I'll see what I can do. Then
God.
we have a Panzerjäger E50 based on the E50 chassis. So this was to have a 128mm, and it's basically the tank destroyer version of the E50.
These muzzle brakes are very interesting.
Yeah. They kind of remind me of modern Japanese.
It's more of like a grill type. It's not like a traditional muzzle brake. I'm curious how well this would have worked.
Yeah. Definitely. It's definitely a weird one.
It's like a trash can.
Next one. So these are for the. These are the
cannons can't be to scale, can they?
No idea, because this is the E100 and the E75 Panzerjägers. So it seems like the E100 Panzerjäger has a 175, and it's and the Panzerjäger E75 has the 128mm on it. These designs do look a little bit out of scale, but
yeah, they have the same amount of road wheels. So I'm
this looks
guessing
like something that Ezra would draw as a 5-year-old in art class.
Yeah, 100%. I love stags.
No, it looks like a Yag Panther, not a Stug.
Sorry, dude, you're not getting out of this one that easily.
Yeah.
And should we go next?
No.
So there was one where there was what was called the E90, which is basically an E25.
He's happy to see you.
But a 175mm cannon in it.
There's no way that's 75.
Oh, God.
So that's a 175.
I'm sorry, I misheard you. My bad.
Yeah. This one is a little bit out there, but I found that on the same website as everything else, so I'm just putting it in there because, all of these were barely even blueprinted, but there's records of it, so we're going to record it.
I mean, that barrel's a little out there.
Yeah. I mean, could you bet... It's not a big tank to begin with. A 175 going off in there would just be horrendous.
Yeah.
Now, none of these ever left the napkin drawing stage, eh?
Pretty much.
Thank God, because this is the most ridiculous stuff I've ever seen.
This one is like the most ridiculous so far, in my opinion. Like the E50, I think it was, like the fucking King Tiger Panther mix. That I think would have been an actually good vehicle.
Yeah. And I think there's a couple more after this one.
All right. It just gets worse.
Yeah.
Oh
so there was one designed as a Yag Tiger 2. So it looks a bit like a Yag Tiger and a Yag Panther got together.
Yeah.
And this was to mount a 150mm cannon on it. But one overriding thing you'll notice is all these designs do look very similar to each other. And that was the idea of the E-Series, was everything was standardized and basically all the same. And that was just to help with production, maintenance, quality, stuff like that. That was the main reason. And is there any more?
They get more and more pixelated the more and more ridiculous they get.
Yeah. So there was one for a Yag Panther 2, which is basically the Panzerjägerwagen E50 with a 128mm cannon on it. All of these designs get pretty ridiculous. Sorry if you're an audio only listener. This one is... You need to go to the YouTube one and see these designs. They are just so out there. It's
Horrendous.
ridiculous. And I think there might be one more.
I will say, there are 35th scale models of these tanks.
Yeah,
they exist.
We'll get... And we're up to that now.
There you go. Speaking of which...
God.
Okay, I would get the E50. Not gonna lie, I would get the E50.
I've got a feeling like Trumpeter likes this stuff.
Yeah, basically every model that I found is from Trumpeter with these series.
I'm not surprised.
So we've got an E10, an E50, E75, E25, all looking, pretty good. And there's still a few more.
Oh, they just get bigger.
Yep. They have...
Oh, God.
Trumpeter has 2 models of the E100. You have the standard turret, and then you have the Krupp turret, which has the 75mm mounted above the 128. Or I believe, no. Is that the 128 or the 150? Just looking at the muzzle brake.
I think that's a 150?
I'm sorry, but like, I just keep looking at the Yad Panzer E100 and its backdrop, and when on God's green earth are you going to need that much firepower in a fucking city? He's
Like,
2 blocks away.
The T-34 comes around the corner and it literally hits the barrel. Goes right into it.
And I think there's the next slide I did, there was some...
Oh, yeah.
There was some efforts... There was some efforts for a
Stug!
There's some efforts to turn them into flak panzers as well. So the E50, E75, and the there was one for I know there was one for an E100, but I can't find any pictures of it. And that was to have a twin-mounted 88mm cannon turret.
See, if only the Germans had Trumpeter's design team on hand, then they would have known what to do.
But yeah, so the E series, I mean, the idea of it, of standardizing all your armor, making it all cheaper, easier to produce, easier to maintain, all of that, in theory, is a very good idea. I mean, considering you look at, say, the Americans during the war were probably the best at it with the Sherman. Because the Sherman came out in how many variants and all that, but you could go from a Sherman M4, M4A1, M4A2, and all that, and you could switch out a lot of the parts, especially like the bogey systems and whatnot, until you get to the later ones.
Oh yeah.
So maintenance on Shermans was dead simple. You could take any random Sherman, cannibalize it, and you could use parts from it, whereas the Germans couldn't. You can't take parts from a Panther and use it in a Panzer IV. So
yeah, this is all very it all seems very rushed. I don't know if that comes across any of these designs to you guys, but it all looks very yeah, they definitely came up with this after people had already landed at Normandy.
100%.
Well,
100%.
a lot of these designs date back to 1942.
Really?
You're kidding me.
Yeah,
they
I
were
believe
thinking of stuff that was this heavy in 1942.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, so that is the E series of tanks. I doubt you guys learnt anything, but
We put a few jokes in there.
We got a few jokes, and I actually learned some stuff. I learned I won a
I learned some
E100.
stuff too. Yeah. Well done, Callum.
Yeah, good job.
Honestly, dude, that was really good.
Well, we have a segment on this podcast called "A Hill to Die On," and basically one of us comes on with a really bad take, and we get crucified for it. Everyone walks away and has an amazing time. So, this week we've got Ezra.
Yes. Okay. So, a few people on the podcast, they shall go unnamed, think the F-18 is a ugly, disgusting aircraft. I am here to, let's say, educate them on their misconceptions.
Just
And
like
if-
you educate us on how the Stug is the best fucking piece of armor in the world.
No, I'm with Ezra on this one, man. I can't even argue this point.
I don't even know what we're talking about. Let's see here. The one on the left looks better.
I actually built that one, and Ezra,
He
you got
did.
that kit too.
I do have that kit.
You do, yes.
Is that the one we're rooting for?
Yes, I think we should all go back to paying modern jets as they were in World War II. I think it would make them a lot more identifiable.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I thought that the F-18 was an ugly aircraft as well, until I started seeing mucked up and dirty CF-18s. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then I watched Top Gun Maverick, and pow! I now think the F-18 is the best aircraft ever.
Of course.
I will say the Canadian CF-18s in Iraq were the only aircraft I've ever seen that have more weathering than an actual tank.
This is true.
They got the chipping and everything.
Oh God.
1,000 different shades of like streaking. Got mud.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
look
don't
at-
take care of our vehicles. We don't PCM every Monday.
I mean, look at that CF-18 on the right. Isn't that the
Which one, the
100?
top right?
Yeah, in
That's
the
Canada
red.
150, and we
The
had
150,
that back
right.
in 2017.
And then after the air show, wasn't it sent back to its unit, still in its
It was
color
sent
scheme?
back to its unit in those colors.
Yeah, so there's
I-
pictures of it loaded up with bombs.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that unit was in Operation Impact, which was the Canadian airstrike campaign against ISIS. Yep.
That's
I
pretty
could
sad.
just say, imagine this being what takes you out.
I wouldn't be mad.
I'd be kind of happy about that.
Out of all the things in this world that could kill me, this is what does. I'm okay with that.
It's loaded up with like the guy's drinking Tim Hortons as he does it.
Then when the
He's
missile hits, all you hear is sorry.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool color scheme. And to be fair, to the Americans' credit, some Navy F-18s have cool color schemes.
I don't know
Nah,
if
that's-
it's just the angle that the photo's taken at, but the ones in the center right look really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one on center right is a CF-18, and then the one on the center left is a USMC E, I think.
Eh.
I can't say that, dude. You're team killing.
I don't care. Not my team
So-
anymore.
So Ezra, now that you're like fully loaded up on FA-18s, what is the difference between an FA-18 and a CF-18?
Okay. There is a fake canopy painted on the bottom. That's for one, to, kind of confuse someone in a dogfight.
That's on the CF-18, I should point out.
Right. And, though it's weird, some US aircraft have them as well. On the Warthog, for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, yeah, because when the Warthog is doing dogfighting with flankers,
I want to see that now. And I think it has a few other little modifications. Nothing huge, though.
I think
Right.
mostly it's avionics, really.
Right.
Yeah, that's just about it, though. Really, it's just an F-18. Now, like, if you're making a model of it, F-18 model will do just fine.
Yep.
Right, gotcha.
I will say this. Sorry, go ahead.
I expected more of a fight.
I will say
No,
this.
it's just a nice bird.
I think where a lot of people get like the whole modern jets are not interesting looking is not so much the actual jet itself, it's the paint scheme, because they're always in gray. And don't get me wrong, sometimes the gray looks very nice.
It's
Like,
a reason
especially if you
people in
weather it.
Chicago are depressed, okay?
They just need to start painting modern jets in colorful camouflage. That's it.
Or take it back to the victory days. God damn it.
Yes.
Or just spray your F-18 in Kark tan. That'll make
no,
colorful.
no, I take it back. No colorful camouflage. Gray is perfect.
Take it back. Take it back.
Kark
Real
gray.
days.
Ugh.
I'm gonna Kark you, okay? I'm gonna send you to Kark Eve. Send you to Kark.
We're back to the death threats.
Yeah.
As everything should be. Balance is being restored to the world. Well,
I do like that little drawing of the Jolly Rogers F-18. It's not anime though, Greg. You can't say anything.
It's not anime though, Greg.
Well, that was a short and sweet hill to climb on.
It was.
Yeah.
No one died. There was no contacts. Like,
Nope.
it's good.
He reached his objective. Alright, so what have we been working on, guys?
Ooh. All right.
I wonder if
Yes.
you could have done this.
Hey, where's my words? My words. Who took them off?
Wait, what?
I didn't
It
touch
has-
it.
I didn't touch it.
Refresh it. Refresh it.
Ah, fucker. Alright.
Oh no.
Close your eyes, everyone. Be fresh.
Oh no.
Oh, yes.
Who added that?
Oh, I don't know. Who could that have
wasn't
been?
me.
Oh no, it totally wasn't Greg. Not the guy who has to redo the slides. Yeah. All right. So here's my completed, finally, T-72S depicting Russian conscripts in the Donetsk region of Ukraine. Behold, it's abandoned.
Those rugs, man. Those look amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I made some rugs, or I printed those off. Got some, used some clear sprue and made some water bottles. Got an abandoned jacket in the commander's cupola. A map of the eastern side of Ukraine. All sorts of little gems hidden about, some smoking or some cigarette cartons and whatnot. Super fun to build.
You better win something with this tomorrow.
I don't think I'll win anything, but it would be cool.
Definitely.
I don't know. I'd vote for the babushka carpet.
Oh yeah, same here.
Well, thank you, gentlemen.
This is gonna be everyone at the thing tomorrow. They're gonna be like, "Oh, that looks tits, man." I don't know what that.
No one else but me says that, and now you guys do, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's like we're slowly absorbing your vocabulary.
I'm totally down for that. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's fucking tits, man.
There you go. All right, I got one more. All right. To caveat off of what I was just talking about, finally the Russia-Ukraine war diorama is complete. I got final pictures taken. I'll be posting those probably sometime tonight or tomorrow. But you can kind of see there on the left center, there's some books. Those are strung out throughout the diorama, on the tank, in the house, and on the ground. Top center is the new business cards. So I'm taking two of each. The MMP business cards that Dennis was such a sweetheart to make, and then my own for my own YouTube channel. And then the top right is the custom water bottles I made. I had a blast doing those.
Those look so good.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And yeah, that's that. Just kind of overview the build. And if you'd like to check this out, go to my YouTube channel, Greg's Diorama Scale Models.
Follow him.
You'll see a Russian flag burning in the streets.
Yay.
Woohoo! And there was
Slava
great rejoicing.
Ukraine.
Yeah, who's next?
Ah. Oh, words. Crap.
Cancelled.
Australia is the new America. Okay. Here's my 1/35th scale Vargas 3D printed Bob Semple tank. And you can see it.
So good.
You can see it here, left to right. My work in progress pics. I did this in 3 days.
You did. That was very interesting watching you build, prime, paint, and weather. It was nice.
Thank you. It honestly might have my most restrained weathering ever, but probably my best paint job.
I don't know. I think the weathering looks pretty good considering like it wasn't a vehicle that saw combat or anything.
Yeah, I tried to go with some chipping on the corners just to break up how flat they look. And then you'll see on the next slide how the mud how light it is. And that was simply done with mixing up a mix of actual dirt, some PVA glue, smearing it on there, and then covering it with pigments and some AK enamels.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks pretty good, bro.
thank you. And then you can see the scratches on the side on the left picture better.
Yeah, the scratches are actually my favorite part. How'd you do those?
Just with a brush.
Just kind of just painting it on?
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
thank you. All right. And my second 3-day project, my weasel. Painted in 1 day. The Tacom kit was amazing. I only added 2 details. And go buy one. It's so cool.
I know, Ezra, you and I were talking about it earlier. All the little details, like the tape on the lens up there, the little straps and whatnot. Dude, you did a great job.
Thanks. It was my first time making actual buckles, and I think it turned out pretty well.
I would say so as well.
And then, if you'll go to the next slide.
Wow. The figure
crap.
really does put the whole thing in perspective, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. You can see, like, probably the hardest part, in my opinion, was trying to paint the yellow stripes for the tow missiles.
And what are those? Those aren't decals, eh? You had to, like, mask it off?
Oh, yeah. No, I hand-painted it.
Oh, okay.
Jesus, you made my hand painting look like shit.
How the hell do you do this in 3 days?
You get COVID?
Yeah.
At this point, he's getting it intentionally just so he has time to work on it.
Honestly.
Getting COVID, drinking like 6 vitamin waters a day, huffing lacquer thinner.
That one, I believe.
But yeah, at first I wasn't sure if painting the tow missiles olive drab was correct, but apparently it is.
Yeah, they look almost brown compared to the rest of the weasel.
Yeah. I mean, and the green on the weasel looks olive drab. Like,
yeah.
I just gave it a filter of bright green, so it's brightened it up a bit. It definitely looks more NATO greeny. But yeah, tomorrow I'm probably gonna have to start painting the tracks, and I don't look forward to that. I mean, building the tracks.
Oh.
4 pieces to a link.
Oh, fuck that.
And how many links are there on each side, Ezra?
I think 86.
Oh, fun.
That sounds like fun.
Ezra, if you need to talk to somebody, buddy, let me know, okay?
Thank
we
you.
need to start like on our Discord like a track building hotline. Like if you just get overwhelmed by the tracks, you like call us. you get Greg on the call with you. He speaks to you with like a nice soothing tone. It's okay. It's only 86 links per side.
hey, they'll be there tomorrow, buddy, okay? Don't worry about it.
Oh man, awesome work, Ezra.
Yeah, thank you. And you'll see I actually used the figure.
Yeah.
Yes, we told you it would look great.
I've come to realize he does look great. Thank you for your help.
It makes it flow really well.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Oh no! Oh god! Okay, so against my better judgment, I bought a Gundam kit last week. Partially because that Universal Carrier is just kicking my ass. Like I can't do it, man. Too much detail.
Hey,
you just have no energy.
Come to the hotline, okay? I'll talk to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna need that hotline after this. So yeah, I bought one of those like newfangled, one of them fancy Bandai kits. They're Japanese.
Oh god.
Yeah, but I tried it out. Like, I don't know what this robot's supposed to be in, like, the animes or whatever, but I painted it as, like, a Japanese Marine Self-Defense Force robot. Like, something you might see, like, I don't know, patrolling an island or something like that. But, yeah. So I assembled it. I used Mr. Surfacer. You can kind of see it in some of these photos to give it like a kind of a semi-cast texture, just to add some visual detail and fill in
Oh,
some
yeah.
of the seam lines. It did snap together. Like you didn't need to glue it, but I glued it anyways, leaving all the joints posable still. And I give it like I used Mr. Hobby paints on this, and all of the decals for it, not stickers but rather decals, I salvaged them from like a bunch of Japanese kits for like tanks and aircraft I've had over the years. But yeah,
That's
I'd say
so cool.
I really liked painting the helmet. Actually, that was pretty fun.
Yeah, the helmet's the best looking part.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, but just something kind of different, It was nice
Can't believe I'm
I-
going to say this, but Dennis, your Gundam looks really fucking tits.
Aw, thank you.
Oh, you know what
I
you
gotta
need
go
to-
throw up now.
Since you already went into the cursed Gundam region, you have to make a diorama with it fighting Godzilla. Pacific Rim style.
I was actually going to do a diorama for it, like just something very basic, like more of a base than anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to like make some sand and some water on it, maybe a few little tropical plants. But
Nah, bro,
that'll be
make it difficult. Have him walking into the ocean off of a port.
Yeah.
If
Like,
I
might do
how big is this supposed to be?
So
Dude.
you see the kind of the Tamiya extra thin bottle behind them.
Yeah.
So I'd say maybe like 3 extra thin bottles high.
I mean, like, what scale?
It's 1 to 144 scale.
Okay. Yeah, so you could probably have it fighting Godzilla, and it would look cool.
Yeah, that would actually be kind of cool. Oh dang! Oh no! I can't do that. You're gonna put too many ideas in my mind, Ezra. But yeah, I mean, I bought it with the intention of like I know that they're not really scale models, but I wanted to build it as I would a scale model.
I mean, according to someone you know it is,
Yes, but
you're gonna have to cut that.
it's all right. A lot of people I know think that they're scale models, and they're all wrong. Yeah.
Legos are scale models.
Go, leave the Discord, go look at yourself in the mirror and think about what you've done. Come back to the Discord, and then we can talk.
I will say though, if you paint them like tanks, they are awesome. I actually like doing it. It's pretty cool.
You
Yeah.
too, Dennis.
All right, fine, fair enough. I'll leave now.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the other.
Oh,
thing
so
I'm
it's
looking
okay
at-
if I leave.
Yes. Yes, leave.
Everyone, this is my last episode on the podcast. I shall be
This is,
resigning.
This is Femboy Actual 1-8. Okay, so the other thing I've been working on is the Arma Hobby 1:72 scale Hurricane Mark II. I'm doing it as a night fighter, and I actually have a photo on the next slide. I'll just show you guys what the scheme I'm doing it in. So the actual scheme that I'm doing is here, the JXC scheme. But this is going to kind of be what it looks like after it's all painted up, right?
Oh, that
Well,
looks
hopefully.
tits.
Yeah, I know, it does look tits, right?
Are you going to try and replicate that exhaust staining?
Well, come on, Callum. Would it really be me if I didn't try to do heat stains on my model?
Just making
I've
sure.
I've got the Tamiya paints for it. I'm going to give it a shot. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so basically, I'm just at the stage now where it's like the main assembly's done. Now I'm adding all the fiddly bits to it.
And you drilled out your gun barrels, right?
Yeah, I did.
Picture proof right now.
Maybe later. Anyways,
Okay.
oh,
Okay.
what are you doing?
So this is what I'm doing. So this is a 16th scale of a German machine gunner in winter uniform. So this will be the first time I try and paint a figure this big, so I might need some tips from Ezra.
Oh, this big, you say? That didn't
But-
come off well.
So this one I'm going to be filming as part of a YouTube video. So I've just pre-assembled them because it's a bit boring. I didn't want to show that. So the painting and stuff is what I'm going to be actually filming, and then I'm going to make a base for him. So I've got an idea for the base because with the kit it comes with an MP40 submachine gun, and I kind of want to incorporate that because it's not going to be often I have a 16th scale anything, so I want to use it. So the idea I've got for the base is it's going to be a winter scene, snow, all of that, and then I'm going to make a cross. Make a cross for someone buried there, and then sling the MP40 around it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of having the rifle upside down with the bayonet and helmet, it's just going to be a wooden cross with the owner of the MP40 slung around it. Yeah, but this one's going to be an upcoming, probably a two-part video, maybe. Not sure. Haven't decided. But I plan to do the whole zenithal lighting and stuff like that with it. So yeah.
Cool.
Very nice, dude. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to do this one. So just showing off the pose that he's got and the 16th scale MG42, which is pretty nice kit, I got to say. But yeah, that's my idea.
Beauty.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. I have a feeling this is going to become a recurring segment.
Depends on how well we do it.
Okay, so
Red
advice we
Panda.
have to people who are thinking of getting into scale modeling. What we got?
First thing first, you need to love red pandas.
Yes.
Yeah,
First
so
thing first, adopt one.
yeah. So I thought about this one because I've got someone at my work called Doris. I call her Superfan Doris because she's constantly hounding me about the videos, modeling. She's the reason I bring my models into the office to
Shout
show
out
everyone.
Superfan
I
Doris.
was about to say shout out
Yeah.
to Superfan Doris, friend of the show.
Yeah. So, and she recently came up to me and said she wanted to. She and her boyfriend wanted to try out building a model, and she said, "What advice can I give?" And I thought, well, what sort of advice do you give someone who's brand new? Doesn't know the first thing about modeling, especially for people our age where we don't have a lot of money or anything like that. So, like Dennis, I'll pose the question to you. Someone walks into your store and has never touched a model before and asks, "How can you help me?" What would you do?
Well, the first thing I think you need to do if you're thinking of getting into scale modeling is to realize that there are sort of a few categories of it, right? So you've got your ship models, you've got your car models, you've got your aircraft models, and your tank models. Those are the four
Superior.
main ones, right? So you have to think to yourself, each category has things that make it good. It has its pros and cons, right? And it's also what you're interested in. So I'd say to people, if you're interested in something specific, go there, and then we can figure out a beginner kit from there. But if you don't really know, if you're not really interested in anything particular, go with tanks, right? Because with tanks, you don't have to worry about getting a really nice, perfect, shiny finish like you do on cars. You don't need to worry about really tiny detail parts like on ships. On aircraft, you don't have to worry about the seam lines and filling gaps and all that. You can kind of
Canopies.
focus on just putting plastic together and then covering it in mud, right? It's a lot much less it's a lot lower intensity, right?
Don't overweather it.
So I'd say that's a good place to start. You'll figure that out and probably have anywhere from $50 to $100 in your local currency ready to go, right? Depending on how much you like it.
Yeah, and what sort of scale do you reckon?
See, you would think it would be 35, right? You'd think 35th scale because that's where all the kits are from, right? But say you're getting into tanks, I would actually say 48 scale. And the reason for that is that with 48 scale, most hobby stores, right, offer more or less just Tamiya. Tamiya is 1 to 48 scale range. Maybe some of the Hobby Boss stuff, right? The thing is that the Tamiya kits are all fairly recent, so every single one of them has link and length tracks that fit together very easily, right? For a beginner, they might be a little bit challenging, but there's something, if you follow the instructions, you will be completely fine, right?
You can't fuck it up.
Exactly. The kit falls together. There will never be any gaps or anything like that. The detail will be very good, right? You'll have things like cast texture, weld beads, all of that. And at the end of the day, they're big enough that you can have fun painting it and you can actually like hold it in your hands and appreciate it. But it's not so big that's like going to be a big time suck, right? So if you set aside like a couple of hours, you can build it, right? You can build it. It will be very easy, no fuss, and then you can have take time and figure out if you actually enjoy it or not. So it's a 48th skill. It's for the cost you get the best value and probably the best beginning experience.
Yeah, I mostly agree with that. I mean, there's also the old Tamiya Sherman, and I know you're going to immediately jump on me for this, but the old Tamiya Stug 3s.
They're good.
Yeah.
That was one of the first models I built. Was actually this, I think it was a Stug 4 actually, but yeah.
The less superior variant.
Yeah.
They don't have many parts. It has good detail.
And if you wanted to go 35th for your first time, I would suggest the Tamiya Walker Bulldog, the M41.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like a rite of passage now. Almost everyone who's getting into the hobby does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
The kit just falls together. Like, I haven't built it myself. I know people who have built them, and they're really easy to put together. Like, I've seen them in my hobby store, and they're the cheapest. They're like $40. Yeah. Whereas then it's like you look at the next one, and it's about $70-$80.
Like, we might on this podcast sound like we're Tamiya simps, and even though we are, there is like a
Not.
method to this madness. Like it is true that Tamiya kits do generally go together very easily. Their instructions are easy for beginners to understand. Like, if you want to get started, it's definitely worth at least seeing if you like any of the Tamiya kit subjects before you say move on to other manufacturers.
Yeah, like the last thing you want to do is say give someone a mini art or a TACOM kit as first time and say have fun.
Interior. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, Greg, you're like this. You wouldn't know it looking at your stuff, right? Your models are so amazing, but you're fairly new into this. Like, do you have anything you think you'd rather have done differently, or maybe something you liked that you did as a beginner?
Honestly, so like every time I've heard you guys talk about 1-48 scale armor, how that should be like the beginner's like go-to, I kind of cringe because I immediately shoot back to my first 148 armor, which was the Atlantis Pershing. And yeah, so every time I think of 1-48 armor, I just kind of cringe. I'm like, ugh, But however, no, y'all make really good points. But if I were to go back and do anything different, I would probably be more patient. Honestly, it's always fun to experiment on your own. Like, I think my very first 1-35 build was the Tamiya T62. That was my first Chechen War diorama I did, and I used a spray can. I used acrylic paint, not the proper way, for mud and for chipping, and it was awful. It was fucking horrendous, but I wanted to get it done that day, just so I could know what it feels like to have my own completed dio. And it was a good feeling at the time. I was like, "Fuck yeah, this is tits!" Like I'm I'm getting into the hobby. But looking back, like I've scrapped that dio since, right? Because it's like, well, it's not good. It's taking up space. But have as much patience as you can, but have fun, right? Don't have too much patience where it gets boring, mundane, and you just quit halfway through.
Yeah, like when I first got back into it, I started with a 70. What's that stupid scale FX2? 76 scale?
76. Yep.
Yeah.
76.
Yeah, so I did that. It was the Cromwell, and that's what started it. And I was like, well, it's a bit small for my liking. I'm not good with, really small.
Really?
Why do you have to remind me what she said?
Oh, Jesus. I hadn't really even, I didn't even know about 35th scale, to be honest. Like, when I was younger, I'd only ever done 72nd scale aircraft. I'd never actually done a tank, except for a Mark 1 but that was like, I think it was, what, 6 or something? I barely remember making it. The only bit I remember is my dad helping me try and put the tracks on, and I learned a lot of curse words that day. Trying to watch him get it to stick and hold together.
Typical dad moment.
Were they rubber band?
No.
Oh.
No, they weren't. They were... Or maybe... No, I think it was, actually. I can't remember.
I was going to say, curse words while trying to stick them together. That sounds like Airfix rubber band tracks.
Yeah. So then my first 35th scale I bought for $40. It was the Tamiya KV-1B kit. That's actually a really good kit. I mean, I hadn't worked on anything that large scale, and I didn't actually know what the hell I was doing, to be honest. I was just kind of making it up as I was going. So I built it, and when it came to painting it, like I just brush painted it with some Humbrol enamels, and then I tried to quote unquote weather it. And the way I did that is I've been watching a lot of Adam Savage's tested videos.
Oh no!
And yeah, you could probably see where this is going. And the way he was doing stuff on plastic and all that is, slapping a load of paint on, then rubbing it off, and then, whatever's left and whatnot. So I tried doing that with some incredibly thinned out acrylic paint, black paint. And it didn't really work. It didn't work out. I just ended up with these like slightly darker black-green patches all over the tank. But so I actually ended up coming back to it about 3 months later after I'd learnt some more and had the proper stuff and panel lined it and cleaned it up a bit. But yeah, that was my first one. I've still got it. I've kept everything I've made, but yeah, that was my first 35th scale experience.
Sounds like a very interesting one.
Yeah.
Now, what about tools? Would you guys recommend that people go and buy sprue cutters, like out of the gate, or would you recommend like
get them out of the gate? Yes.
Yeah.
I'd say yes. If you can't find them though, nail clippers work pretty well.
They will.
Yeah.
Yes.
I used nail clippers for quite a while.
If you have, which most folks do, if you have a tool set and you have like some wire cutters in there, use those first just to make sure you like the hobby. Or just find anything around the house that you can use to cut it.
Yeah.
But let's say you do your first model and you're like, I want to keep doing this. Then your next investment should be in a good set of like clippers and a scalpel knife and glue, like good glue.
For the first 2 years of me doing the hobby, I was using a box cutter.
Really?
Yeah, that's the only tool I had, a box cutter. So you can make it work. It's not as fun though, and your models will look not as good.
That is very true.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's surprising what tools you can actually just utilize for this hobby. It's not like you have to use this branded one, you have to use this, you have to use this. You can make pretty much anything work. So that's one thing that I tell people who don't know about it when they look at it. Like they'll ask me how much have I personally spent, on a certain model, and I'll tell them, like, well, the model costs $120 because I wanted to get this one special. Then paint, tools, all of that. You add it up, and it's like, well, you're hitting around $500 worth of equipment and resources and stuff, and that puts people off quite quickly. Especially people our age who, probably don't have a high income or anything like that. But I always tell people, it's like, no, like when I started, I had literally nothing. I had to go, when I wanted to build the Cromwell, I had to go out to the hobby store and pick up new cement, new X-Acto blade, because I'd used one, and that was only because I'd used one when I was younger with my dad. And I didn't even have clippers or anything like that. I'd either twist... You're going to hate me for this. I used to either twist things off the sprue and clean it up, or cut it directly with the blade. But
that's dangerous.
yeah,
Hey, I
Yeah,
did the same thing. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Hey, you do what you got to do for the hobby. Good to go.
yeah. But I tell people it's like you don't like if you have those three things, they'll last you a long time until you get properly invested in it. You don't have to spend an enormous amount on the hobby straight away. That comes later.
Yeah, exactly. It will come. It will.
Yeah. You'll sit down and look around and you'll see a stack of 30 models you just bought on a whim and about 50 different paints and an airbrush and all of that, but that all comes later.
One thing I will say is that for people who are trying to get in, and this is something that I have experience with both on like the buying and like selling end, um, it is addicting. Buying a model, it's like that dopamine rush of buying the model, looking at the box art, and then opening it up and smelling the plastic sprues is something that I think we all can relate to. If you
Oh, it's the
want to keep
best
your costs
part.
down, if you want to keep your costs down, especially if you're like if you're just a beginner to the hobby, stash management is a huge thing. Forcing
Yeah.
yourself to not buy kits if you like find out you really like it will keep the costs down so much because for the cost of one kit, you can get like if you're into tools, you can get all sorts of tools because they're getting really inexpensive now. Like a lot of hobby stores are carrying brands like Master Tool, which are getting a lot cheaper, especially compared to say Tamiya. You can get a lot of paint for that. So just having that self control initially, as you're still like kind of getting into it, it'll be a huge help. And then you won't rush your models as much, and then they'll actually end up looking that much better just because you took a bit more time on them.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, and it's definitely one thing like you tell people is like when you're building it, don't rush it, which is for me a bit hypocritical, but do as I say, don't not as I do. But I tell people it might take you a month, 2 months to build it. That's totally fine, you know, and especially if they've done one or two models and they get to that point where it's like, well, I just want this done and I'm stuck on this model like Dennis is with his carrier and stuff like that. Then I'll tell people then I'll teach them about the slammer build. Just buying a incredibly cheap small scale something and building it quickly to scratch that itch of finishing something.
Yeah, and I guess for like if you're interested, it depends also on like what you're interested in. Obviously, if you want to enjoy the hobby, you want to probably build stuff that like attracts your eye, right? So I talk to a lot of car modelers, and one thing I will say, if you decide, hey, I'm really into tanks, and you want to like branch out, probably go to something like aircraft or ships. Avoid cars early on because like you're going to need a whole bunch of different paints for those, and that's going to add up quite quickly, right?
Yeah.
But if you're say into cars, I would say avoid going straight to tanks because with aircraft you can still do those nice clean glossy finishes. Like just finding out how your stash of like paints will play with different models is a great idea. And I like to keep a list of what paints I have, just so that then you're looking at the kits in the aisle, you can kind of immediately identify how many more paints would I need to buy just to finish this kit, right? So like doing that, like keeping an idea of what you've already got is a huge help.
That is true. Yeah. Don't overthrow your stash.
Yeah, and definitely, I'd say definitely stay away from the gatekeepery. There, unfortunately, as with every hobby, there is the gatekeepers, and I'm sure we've all encountered them. Yeah, you can just ignore those ones, like because they're stuck in their own world, but it's a model. You can do whatever you want with it. I mean, that's what I do with mine. The way, like, you get the people who do realism, and then you get people like me, who the way I paint my tanks and do markings and all that, add accessories, they all might be a bit out there and a bit, you say, if you look at my Type 1 Japanese self-propelled gun, the Honi, in the kit it came with the turret machine gun for the Type 97. And I thought it would be kind of cool to chuck it on top of the Honi gun shield, just as a sort of, like out in the field, sort of, you want some sort of anti-personnel protection, that's what you'd slap on. And so I model everything from my perspective of, well, if this was my world, if I had this, what would I do with it? You know? It doesn't have to necessarily be historically accurate or anything like that.
As long as you have fun and
Yeah.
you're happy with what you're doing, that's all that matters. If
Oh,
you want to
totally.
go for realism, then go for it. If you want to go in La La Land and do your own thing, by all means, fucking send that shit. Because at the end of the day, it's your model, and as long as you're happy with it, that's where you're going to get your real, genuine satisfaction from. Not if Bob from Facebook thinks you overweathered something or some other shit, right? It's all about you and your model, and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Wait, so Greg, does this mean I can put the Canadian flag on my Abrams tank?
Yes, send it.
Yay!
And then I'd suggest another good resource is YouTube.
100%.
Oh yeah.
Watch YouTube, watch how others do it, but at the same time, don't get intimidated by it. Like when I started watching them, you just started your modeling and stuff like that, and then you end up watching something like Night Shift, something from Martin Kovac or Plasma or something. And you see the detail and how well they do stuff, then you look at yours. There's one thing you need to remind yourself is like, they've been doing it for years and years. Don't get intimidated by it,
And some of those guys even do it for a living too. So
Yeah.
they've got lots of experience.
And they're going to have, obviously, not to say that tools like make a model better, but they will have like a lot of things like airbrushes and punch and die sets and all those things that just make it easier to add detail to it. Like those things, if you're really into it, will come with time, and it's all about the journey that's important. And also be wary of Night Shift in particular, because the guy is so sweet and so kind. He always says he doesn't like how his models ended up where he isn't doing a good job. Don't let that fool you. He is a pro.
Oh, that's if I ever have an interview or just talk with him, I am going to get on his case about that. Like, I will happily tell him, like, no, you are an inspiration to how many modelers internationally. You are like what people consider one of the best. Do not sit there and make some awesome, bloody, beautiful diorama or something like that, and then go, yeah, but it's not the best, it's not too good, or anything like that. It's like, no, it's like people look up to you. If you're saying that looks bad, then anything they do, they'll consider as bad. It's like, no, you gotta. It's like, yeah, you can be self-critical about it, but at the same time, people are looking up to you. You can't just sit there and go, oh, well, I did this and it's really bad, or I don't like it or anything like that. It's like, okay, you can admit that, yeah, there's one or two little aspects on it, but yeah, you can't just sit around going, yeah, I'm not that good, I'm not too good or anything like that. It's like, no, you're in the top 1% of us,
Facts.
Yeah. So you gotta, what's the word I'm looking for? You gotta, you're like an ambassador almost. You gotta, you're propping up the industry. You're propping up the hobby. You don't want to say you're bad at it, because you're not.
Okay, now thinking of dioramas. Now, Greg, one of the things I noticed is that I don't know about you guys, but as a beginner, I was afraid of dioramas. Like, I didn't know how to make them, and I didn't really ever make one until this year actually. But Greg, you have, as a beginner, in kind of your first year or so, you've just been cranking out the best dioramas I've ever seen. Like, how did you approach that as a beginner?
Well, first off, thank you. That's very kind. To give a little backstory, when I was a kid, like everyone else, I built Legos. And that was kind of my way to get. Yeah, shut up, Ezra. that was that was kind of my way to get through life, right? As a kid, was building Legos, and I like to build these huge, World War II, fucking I call them mocks, my own creations, right? Growing up a little bit, stopped doing Legos, moved on with life, joined the military, and I was playing video games during my free time, and I'm thinking, man, I want something else to do. So that's when I got looked on YouTube. CW modeling actually was my inspiration. I saw his dios, and I'm like, man, I want to do that. So Shout out to Chalky, CW Modeling. Dude, you're my inspiration. Love your work. I doubt he'll ever listen to this, but on the slightest chance he does. So I saw his stuff, and that's when I started doing my own dios. And that's, yeah, it's a little intimidating at first, but by God, is it fun, man. Building dios is just, because you get to tell a story, and I personally love recreating history as well as I can.
Right.
And being able to have that same creativity and being able to mold things into a scene like I used to do with Legos. I've got a pretty happy life, and part of that is due to my wife, my son, and the hobby, and you guys. Like, it's just the inspiration, seeing other people building dios, like Ezra's and the rest of your guys' like standalone vehicles and stuff. It's just incredible seeing it, and I want to be able to be on like y'all's level, so it makes you want to be. I don't know how to put it.
Dude, you already are on our level.
I'd say.
That's very kind of you guys. I appreciate it. But yeah, long story short, CW modeling is the reason I started doing dios, and I actually bought the Millennium Falcon and some TIE fighters, Lego variants. My wife and I built them, and I was like, yeah, fuck that, it's too expensive. So
I will say, as expensive as plastic modeling is, it's probably not any worse than Lego at this stage.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, not at all. I promise you. I swear to God, I would put my next paycheck on it that scale modeling is way cheaper than buying Lego sets at the rate we do.
Yeah. And there are those people that super glue their Lego sets together as well.
They don't count as scale modelers, though. Don't be fooled.
Yeah, for me and dioramas, like, they are intimidating. I've got maybe 1, 2, 3. I'm working on my 4th big one, and yeah, like my first one was for my Churchill, and that is literally a dirt road and a green field next to it. That's it. That was
nothing wrong with that.
Then the next one I did was the SMK, and that's just a raised road and a kit bash wooden fence. That was about as far as I do, because I try and do something a bit different each time. Like, that's my way of modeling, is I don't model things exactly the same way I did the last time. I always try something new, because that's just how I work. I can't do repetitive. So the next one was my North Africa diorama, and that was just using bits and pieces I had around the house, just because if I have figures included, I want to use the figures as well. So I've got a nice little North Africa diorama, but yeah. So I'm currently working on the Type 1 self-propelled gun, and this is probably going to be the more complex of the dioramas. So I'm still trying to plan out how I'm going to make things on it, but yeah, they can be intimidating at first, but you just got to just go for it, just do it.
Yeah.
Like, Ezra, what was you've been a bit quiet. What was your experience starting?
Just keep going at it, and you'll eventually start getting better. Watch a lot of YouTube videos. Get really fed up with yourself. Yeah.
What was so your first model? What was your experience with it? Like, how did it come out? Whatnot?
It came out horribly, and it was missing a ton of parts, but I really enjoyed making it.
Which one was it?
It was the Revell 700 and something weird scale USS Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep. That one's really common. A lot of people begin doing that.
Yeah.
Modeling with that.
I had such a blast doing it. I then went out and bought the Academy 1/72nd scale B-17 Memphis Belle.
Ooh,
Oh, nice.
How was that?
It's an okay kit, but I did a horrible job on it.
Yeah, one thing I
You
would
guys-
say to people is, like, no matter what, don't expect your first kit to be like anything insane. Like, it's okay
yeah.
for it to not look amazing.
And to be fair, you will probably think it's like the best thing on earth until like 6, 7 months down the road. You'll look back and be like, "Holy shit!" Which is completely normal and fine. That's like kind of the process, if we're being honest.
Yeah, and then you'll end up destroying it. Like, I don't have any of my models that I made last year or the year before that. They're all gone.
Which is fine because you make room for for your own stuff, your
Yeah.
better stuff.
Yeah, you can put them on your juice rack.
Oh god.
Not the juice rack.
And I personally would say, like, if you do build your first model and you're not happy with it, or you think it doesn't look that good compared to others and all that, I think the best thing to do is take it to your friends who don't build models.
Yeah, honestly.
Because you'll be looking at it from a critical eye of, oh, I've done this wrong, that's a mistake, and that's all you'll see.
Right.
Whereas then you take it to people who don't model, or they don't build or anything like that, and you'll see it. Suddenly, you'll get their perspective of. They'll think it looks great. They'll wonder how the hell you managed to do it. If you need a pick me up, just take your models to people who are excited that you have a hobby but don't do it themselves. You'll get a good pick me up from that alone.
Yeah, that's another thing. Involve like not overly, right, but like let your family and friends know that you're getting into it, and you'll probably, depending on what your culture's like, who your friends and family are, you might get picked on like, oh, that's an old man hobby, or that's childish, or whatever the case may be. But you'll get some of those guys, like Callum's been saying, like they will be interested, and hell, maybe they'll even want to start. You may have a local buddy to hang out with.
Yeah.
And if worst comes to worst, social medias as well. Your Instagram, Facebook.
Join our Discord.
Discord, YouTube.
Yeah, join our Discord. Please. But like that's how we started. I mean, that's how I joined Ezra and Dennis and whatnot. It was just a random invite to the first group build, the 1 to 100 scale group build.
Yeah, it's actually funny you mentioned that. Like, I think out of everybody I messaged, I thought you were going to say no.
I was about to.
Yeah, like, you left me on scene for like a week, and I was like, oh well. Yeah. It was worth a try.
Yeah, that one, I actually spent quite a bit of time. It's like, should I? I don't know. I'm pretty busy. But then eventually someone's like, just fucking do it. And I was like, well, I mean, I keep saying I need to go and like meet people online and talk to people about it and whatnot. Fuck it. I might as well do as I say I'm going to do. So yeah, that's when I messaged back and said, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
I literally texted you saying, yeah, I'll join, and then bought a model for it there and then on my phone.
Nice.
Yeah, that's something else that some folks might be a little intimidated by, is don't be afraid to hit people up on the internet. Like,
yeah.
Go to your local hobby store if you got one, like not like Michael's because they don't count. But like a Hobby on USA or something, go there. They'll probably have like a local meeting they do maybe once a month or so. That's a possibility. So you can find some local people, but definitely the internet. You're gonna find guys like ourselves who are normal dudes with normal lives, but this is like our passion, and we would love to bring you in. If you have questions or want advice, we'll happily give it to you, and definitely enjoy the journey with you.
I will also say, just on that note of like going to your local hobby store, if you do live in like a major city, most major cities in like especially North America, but also in Europe and Asia and all that, even in South America, it's really popular. They should have at least one hobby store. You go there, the guys who work there, generally speaking, work there because they themselves are hobbyists. Like, it's not the kind of thing where you might go to say like a clothing store, and you might have people there who don't even wear those clothes, right? It's like you go to a hobby store, the people there are generally like not experts per se, but like they know a little bit about what they're talking about because they do it themselves. And like whenever I get people coming in who are new to the things, I talk their ear off for like hours about just like how the hobby goes, and like if they want any advice or any tips. The guys at hobby stores are like always there to talk, and like you can go in there like 10 times a day with all sorts of questions. We will always, every single time, be happy to talk to you and answer anything that you might have to ask, because we also we definitely like see the hobby in like a more technical standpoint as well. Like if you want to know the difference between products, we can tell you that in detail, like all that sort of thing. And we usually get to look at the kits before they get sealed up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think someone's working at a hobby store because they want to be there. That's something they have a real passion in.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I don't go to my hobby store as much, but I always have a quick chat with the guy who's at the counter or anything like that, But
whenever I go to the hobby store near me, the guy looks at me, takes my money, and I leave. Like, he just... I don't know. I want to say, like, oh, I'm actually a serious model builder, but
you're also buying like only Revell kits from the 1950s, dude.
No! The last time I went there, I bought the Tamiya Korean War Sherman. And then the last time, I got the $120 Bronco Buffalo with slat armor.
He's probably just annoyed.
How's that coming along?
I've not started it. I'm actually legitimately scared of that model.
It's fun.
He's probably just annoyed because you've cleaned him out of Stugs and everyone's been bitching to him about it.
Oh, I looked. He doesn't have any.
He's hiding them from you. He's like, oh shit, it's the Stug kid. Hide him. You gotta say like a special password to him to get one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
But yeah, that would be our advice to prospective modelers.
Third time's the charm.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The people who are like listening to us will think we're insane.
I can post you that on my Instagram.
So you got the drool.
You need to put this picture in the slide so they can see what we're laughing about.
I will.
Oh my god, I cried.
Guys.
I just cried.
Oh Jesus.
I think that's a good spot to close it.
Yes, that's a good
listening
time.
up until this point. Thank you so much for listening. You have been listening to the Micro Machines podcast. Yeah, thank you all so much. And,
A podcast where you might learn something or not.
Alrighty. Goodbye, everyone.
Y'all
See ya.
See ya.